Nanda twitched in her sleep, her paws rhythmically kneading the rough fabric beneath her. But where exactly was she sleeping? The question hovered at the edge of her slumbering subconscious, a faint discord in the symphony of her dream. She was curled up on something coarse and unfamiliar, carrying a faint scent of hay mingled with wood smoke, a fragrance that felt both grounding and disquieting. This texture wasn't the worn, handmade patchwork quilt she knew so well, nor the dusty embrace of her favorite armchair, its threadbare patches and scratched sides proudly bearing the mark of her claws. This was something different, something foreign and faintly unsettling. She dreamt she was nestled in a meadow, bathed in the warm glow of a setting sun. Long blades of grass, tipped with shimmering dew, swayed gently in a breeze that carried the scent of wildflowers and honey. A ladybird perched on one of the blades, its wings opening and closing in hypnotic rhythm. Butterflies with wings of make-believe colors flitted among the blooms, going about their butterfly business. The buzzing of busy bees filled an air that would otherwise have been silent, providing a gentle comfort. Nanda's chest vibrated with a deep purr that resonated through her body as she stretched her paws and continued to make biscuits. This idyllic scene, however, began to feel tinged with an odd sense of being out of kilter. The sun seemed to hang too low in the sky, its light stretching into strange, contorted shapes that flickered with an almost living unease. The air, though sweet, held an underlying bitterness, a tang that made her sweet black nose crinkle. From out of nowhere, Grace's gentle voice filled the air, a soothing melody that wrapped around Nanda like a warm blanket. Then there she was, before her, leaning against a nearby old oak tree that had a big yellow ribbon tied around it. A wicker basket lay at her feet. The basket, lined with a red and white gingham cloth, overflowed with crunchy treats and cat yogurts in every imaginable flavor. Creamy salmon, tangy tuna, and chicken with a hint of mint, to name but a few. Nanda's remarkable sense of smell picked up these delicious aromas that, somehow, managed to drift through the tightly interlinked chains of polymers forming the plastic packaging. She did a full stretch, whilst letting out a soft purr, her unease momentarily forgotten. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves of the tree, and the wicker basket creaked softly, echoing the sound of Grace's knees as she bent down to offer Nanda a treat. "You're a remarkable cat, Nanda," Grace seemed to sing, her words echoing through the corridors of Nanda's subconscious. Grace's face, a comforting beacon in the swirling chaos of her dreamscape, was etched with a sadness Nanda hadn't remembered in life. Her eyes, usually sparkling with warmth and laughter, held a deep, unsettling melancholy. "There's something you need to do, Nanda," Grace continued, her voice tinged with wistful longing. "Something unexpected." A sudden gust of wind howled through the chamber, extinguishing the flickering lamp. The window, which had been slightly ajar, slammed shut with a resounding bang. Darkness swallowed the room, thick and absolute. Nanda froze, her ears flattening against her head, her heart pounding against her ribs. The cloying scent of wood smoke intensified, and a thick haze made her eyes sting and water. From one of the shadowed recesses, a low growl rumbled, breaking the tense silence. Nanda froze, her ears flattening as twin orbs of golden light emerged from the gloom, eyes, unblinking and sharp, watching her intently. A massive, wolf-like creature stepped forward, its silver-streaked fur shimmering faintly in the lamplight. It moved with predatory grace, circling her slowly, each step deliberate. Nanda, though wary, held her ground. Her back arched and her fur bristled. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice steady despite the tremor of fear that ran through her. The creature took a step closer, sniffing the air. It circled her slowly, a low whine escaping its throat. It seemed more curious than aggressive, but Nanda wasn't taking any chances. She flattened her ears against her head, her tail lashing from side to side, her hook thumping on the ground. "Stay back," she hissed, her claws extending. "I'm warning you." The creature paused, tilting its head, as if considering her words. It whined again, a sound that was almost mournful. Then, to Nanda's surprise, it sat back on its haunches, its eyes still fixed on her. Nanda, unsure of what to make of this sudden change in demeanor, remained tense, ready to spring away at the slightest provocation. She had never encountered a creature like this before, and her instincts were screaming at her to flee. "What are you?" she asked, her voice a low growl. Some kind of demon dog? The creature lowered its head slightly, and a soft rumble, almost like a purr, emanated from its chest. It took another step closer, and Nanda tensed, ready to strike. But instead of attacking, the creature gently nudged her with its snout, its touch surprisingly gentle. Nanda, taken aback, allowed the creature to sniff her. It smelled of the forest, of damp earth and pine needles, with an underlying scent of something wild and untamed. She realized, with a surprising surge of relief, that it meant her no harm. Suddenly, a deep voice boomed from the dim recesses of the room. "Viego!" The creature immediately backed away, his ears flattening against his head. A tall figure emerged from the darkness, his features obscured by a heavy cloak. He moved with a quiet grace that belied his size, and his voice, when he spoke, was deep and resonant. "I apologize for Viego's behavior," he said, his voice smooth and calming. "He is protective, but he means you no harm." Nanda, still wary, kept her eyes on Viego, who was now sitting obediently at the figure's side. "Where am I?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "You are safe," the figure replied, his voice soothing, "and you are needed." He gestured towards a doorway that Nanda hadn't noticed before. It was set into the wall, almost invisible in the shadows, and a faint light emanated from within. "Come," he said, "there is much to discuss." With a hesitant glance at Viego, Nanda followed the figure through the doorway, which led to a narrow, winding staircase spiraling upwards into the depths of the stone structure. Nanda followed the cloaked figure, with Viego padding softly behind her. His claws clicked softly on the worn stone steps, a counterpoint to the rhythmic tapping of her own paws. The air grew colder as they ascended, chilling her nose and making her breath mist in the air. Is this what it would feel like if I tried to walk up Mount Everest? The strong scent of wood smoke was replaced by the musty odor of damp earth and decaying stone, a smell that spoke of age and secrets long forgotten. Her sharp senses picked up the faintest echoes of whispers, carried on drafts that snaked through the stone passage. Was it the wind, or something else? Viego growled softly, his hackles rising. "Easy, boy," she murmured, more to herself than to him. "If you're nervous, I should be terrified." The cloaked figure ahead didn't so much as glance back, his steps purposeful and unyielding. Who is this person? Nanda wondered, her tail flicking with unease. Each step echoed like a drumbeat, pulling her deeper into the unknown. The dimly lit hallway stretched before them, torches flickering in iron sconces and casting shifting patterns that teased the edges of her vision. The air was heavy with a metallic tang that set her teeth on edge. She glanced at Viego, whose ears twitched nervously as they walked. The cloaked figure suddenly paused, his head tilting slightly, as if listening to an unseen signal. Nanda stopped a few paces behind, her green eyes narrowing. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice steady despite the unease crawling up her spine. The figure turned slightly, revealing a gloved hand that gestured for silence. Before she could press further, a sharp, high-pitched sound erupted from within his cloak, like the wail of a distant siren. Viego whimpered, pressing close to Nanda, his ears visibly tense. The figure reached into his cloak and seemed to press something. A hidden device, perhaps? The siren ceased abruptly, replaced by a distorted, static-laden voice emanating from somewhere near his chest. Though the words were unintelligible to Nanda, the urgency in the tone was unmistakable. "I'm sorry," the figure said, his voice clear and tinged with regret. "I must leave. An emergency demands my attention." "Wait." Nanda stepped forward, her tail lashing with frustration. "You can't just—" The figure raised his wrist, revealing a strange blue, pearl effect, metallic band. He pressed a button on its surface, and instantly, a shimmering bubble began to form around him, its surface iridescent and pulsing faintly. Viego barked, his deep voice echoing through the hall as he lunged toward the figure. "Viego, no!" Nanda shouted, but the hound ignored her, racing toward the cloaked stranger. The figure hesitated for the briefest moment, his head turning as though he wished to stay. "I will try to return," he said, his voice barely audible above the hum of the growing bubble. "Call Viego back." "Come back now," Nanda snapped, but Viego was already mid-leap, his powerful muscles coiled to strike. In that instant, the bubble flashed brilliantly, enveloping the figure completely. With a sound like rushing wind, the cloaked figure vanished just as Viego's claws swiped through empty air. The hound landed heavily, skidding across the stone floor, his frustrated growls echoing in the now empty space. Nanda rushed to his side, her heart pounding. "What just happened?" she muttered, her voice unsteady. She placed a cautious hand on Viego's neck, feeling the rapid thrum of his heartbeat beneath his fur. He whimpered softly, his glowing eyes fixed on the spot where the figure had disappeared. The hallway grew still, save for the low crackle of the torches. Nanda's thoughts raced, questions crashing into each other in a whirlwind of confusion. Who was that figure? What kind of emergency could pull him away so abruptly? She glanced down at Viego, whose head drooped slightly, and whispered, "We'll figure this out." The words were more for her own reassurance than his. Whoever he is, he'll be back. But even as she spoke, doubt coiled tightly in her chest. Would he come back? And if he didn't, what would that mean for her, and for Viego? Her gaze flicked to the big hound beside her, who was watching her with unnervingly keen eyes. She sighed. "Why did it have to be a dog?" she muttered under her breath. "I've already got enough problems with other cats, and now this." With a determined shake of her head, Nanda straightened and fixed her gaze on the hallway ahead. Trying to maintain an air of civility, she said, "Come on, boy. No turning back now."